And now it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Bill Hanson, Senior Product Manager at StorageCraft. Bill, are you there?
Yeah, hello. How are you today?
Doing great, Bill. Thank you so much for kicking off the event today. Take it away.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. Really glad to be here, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone on. Glad to be here and kick things off here for the virtual summit. As was mentioned, I'm Bill Hanson from StorageCraft. Senior Product Manager. My focus is on our cloud services and our cloud offerings, and we're going to talk about those in a little bit of detail today. But I want to just go ahead and kick off and introduce us a little bit and talk about some solutions and things just like we described on how to protect your data and manage it, solve some of these challenges that were mentioned just before I started here. Now, for those who aren't very familiar with StorageCraft, we were founded back in 2003, so about 16 years old. So we've been around quite a while in terms of tech. A global company. We have our headquarters in Draper, Utah in the U.S., and yet we have offices around the globe to support our products and customers and partners. One of our products that's really been our mainstay for some time is our Shadow Protect product, which is a server computer image protection software that we've had for some time. So some of you may be very familiar with that already. But across the time, we've got millions of machines that are protected with our backup and recovery software, as well as petabytes of data that's under kind of the management and protection through it and our cloud services and different things. We're a company that's had a pretty heavy investment recently, as it shows on there, $187 million of investment in our technology, and some of what we'll talk about are the results of where that's been going, where that money's been spent in terms of technology and our growth and development. We're very much a channel-focused company. That's probably why you may not be super familiar with our name. We really empower our channel partners to utilize our services to provide solutions to the end user, to the customers and clients out there. But that's a little background on who we are. Again, we've been around for a while. We're in pretty much all major verticals, higher education, financial, healthcare. It looks like a lot of people from these industries are on today. So again, we're in those areas. Again, been around for some time. So I want to dive in just a little bit to set the stage on some of the challenges you're all facing. I know we just talked a little bit about that, data security, GDPR. I'm going to hit on a few, and I'm sure many others will hit on some of these challenges today. You know them, but I'd like to summarize them just a little bit here. Fundamentally, data growth, it's been a massive growth. Every time we think it can't grow faster, it seems like it just keeps growing. We've had a massive growth in unstructured data over the last decade or so, right? A lot of unstructured data, that's the Internet of Things, all the different imaging and video surveillance and all kinds of data is being created daily. And it's just growing so fast, we have to come up with a way to solve and manage and protect all that data. Really, that's the second part, is data protection. How do you protect all this data? What's most important? Where do you put it? What's the backup window like? What's the recovery time? Your RTO, your RPO for that data. How do you handle that? As we've done a lot of work in that area, we look at what's the cost of when you are down, when you don't have access to your data. And, just a stat here, from a small business, you're costing about $8,000 an hour to not have that data, up to, large businesses that are losing hundreds of thousands of dollars for each hour that they're not able to get to their data. So obviously protection is pretty key, and the recovery of it. Reasons for downtime, I think this was mentioned before, the person to the keyboard. Fundamentally, when you look at the reasons, it is still human error that's quite a driver for disaster recovery needs and that downtime. But, the unexpected update that didn't go quite right. Power outages, your infrastructure things are just not running like they should. A lot of times you think disaster recovery, it must be a big hurricane or flood or some kind of fire or something, but that's actually a small percent of what causes downtime. And really, you've got to come up with a strategy to handle this challenge. And then, not lastly, but data security in the terms of cybercrime, really growing. I think you all hear about that constantly in the news and things. Cybercrime is really a growing threat, particularly ransomware. I know from our company perspective, we help people recover from ransomware every day, as it is getting to be more and more prevalent out there. Just a few stats on that. 77% of organizations experience a cyber attack, even though they have the latest up-to-date security solutions running. So these things are they're getting more sophisticated, and even though you have protection, these attacks are still happening. As it says here, a new business will fall victim to ransomware every 14 seconds in 2019. That's I can't even count how many have already been hit just while I've been talking. So really, it's not so much a when will you be attacked or have this happen. It's just not if, but when. And what's your plan? What's the plan to protect your data first? And then second, if it does get through, how do you recover it? What's the strategy you have? And really, that's where StorageCraft comes in. We have a portfolio of solutions that are made to be very modular and flexible to scale from maybe only need a simple solution up to more complex, from data management, data protection, to the full disaster recovery capabilities. And you can use each piece or all of it to address these challenges I just talked about, because they are big. And if you don't have a plan, as they say, if you don't have a plan, then you're planning to fail. And we want to make sure people are prepared and ready to manage and handle these challenges. And that's what StorageCraft does. We have the solutions to protect that and provide solutions. Speaking of those, our next generation of products, I want to mention a few of them. And again, we're going to deep dive into the disaster recovery side. One of those is our Converged solution, our OneXafe product, which is a converged storage solution that has protection built in. So you can have that SLA-driven data protection, define your policies, retention, and things, and also the storage. That's a scale-out basic object store that can scale out with the file front end to handle that growth of data. Second, our ShadowSafe. This is a new offering from StorageCraft. It's been out the last year now. Again, a new generation of disaster recovery or protection, really, that ties into disaster recovery. That's really SLA-oriented data protection that builds off the key functionality that I mentioned in our ShadowProtect product that's been going for so long, and bringing a new generation of protection. And then the piece, Cloud Services, as we call it, which is our disaster recovery as a service solution that allows you to not only take all these backup images and things on-site, but go off-site and fully fail over in the case of a disaster, and be able to provide that and have business continuity when those things occur. Now, if I could dive in just a little bit to our OneXafe solution, it's really an agentless and agent-based protection, so you can have both in this solution and be able to protect both your physical and virtual machines and systems with the solution. I know historically StorageCraft has been very well known for our physical protection, but we also protect virtual systems very well, and this expands upon that. Even to the point that with our patented technology, you can resume a backup image in milliseconds. You can have a virtual machine running off of a recovery point in milliseconds to be back up and running very quickly if needed. And then, of course, we continue our powerful ability to recover to dissimilar hardware or a virtual environment. We can do that and have the integrations with Hyper-V, VMware. It's all part of the OneXafe solution. Now, kind of putting all that into a graphic so you can kind of see what I just said. Here we have our OneXafe kind of cluster of storage that we've been set up. That's protecting data, if you will, or data coming from virtual environments, physical environments. It's data coming from wherever it is, or unstructured data, the applications you have, to be able to store that data. You can create a secondary site or a secondary cluster of this storage to replicate to or use as secondary storage. And then, as I mentioned, you can then put all these pieces together to run your OneXafe with the ShadowSafe protection software on it, and even replicate out to our cloud solution or even to other cloud solutions like public cloud, AWS or Azure I have on here. But you can utilize that ability to back up, again, to public or private clouds, or even another infrastructure that you may have, a secondary site running more OneXafe units or your own storage. So really designed to be, again, flexible and modular to whatever level of protection you want to have or build. Our ShadowSafe software that's running in our OneXafe solution, it's really quite easy to use. Here are a few screenshots of setting up the data protection are policies. So you can easily create a policy for each and every machine that you're using or protecting. You want retention where you're keeping recovery points every day up to every 15 minutes. You can protect those going to a local NFS share, SMB share, or off to even the cloud or the OneXafe system itself. It's very easy to set up and use, which makes it really easy to make it efficient and easy to back up and protect your data. And it's simple to manage. Those who are used to our Shadow Protect will see a major improvement and changes in here in terms of our dashboard and management tools, making it much easier and efficient for someone to manage this. It really cuts down on the need to have multiple people managing different pieces, makes it very simple. And again, a lower labor cost, lower overall total cost of ownership for someone to run their protection to solve these problems across many, many machines. And lastly, on the OneXafe, I want to hit again on virtual boot. It's something we're very proud of. This is that ability that when you need to recover from an image that you've protected, your machine's gone down, with just a couple clicks you can restore in milliseconds as we use our patented technology to virtual boot and hyper restore any VM and have it up and running. No need for the vMotion and things that are out there that are good. This allows you to get, again, up and running very quickly with a machine when you need to. And then, of course, when it's all done, be able to fail back and keep things going. Now, just to dive in now to our cloud services, what is it when we say cloud services? Pretty generic, but what it is we've built a purpose-built disaster recovery cloud. So it's not just a generic, lots of bits and pieces. It truly was built from the ground up to help people recover when they have a disaster. And that can be anything from simple backup to full running of machines and networks and things in our cloud infrastructure. Again, purpose-built for that. A few key features of it I wanted to touch on while I'm with you today is it's a simple, flexible solution, and we'll talk about the different service levels that can be used, and you can mix or match depending on the machines and things you're trying to protect. We've really tried to enable our partners and users to be able to be independent, and we have a web-based console, a portal where they can log in and have access to their machines, or if they're a service provider, have a service provider management level where they can see into different clients' data and manage them independently. And really self-service. We want to put you in control. You don't have to call us every time you need something. You have the capability and things to do that all on your own, and it's designed to work that way. In terms of the service itself, we've really made it robust and made it very enterprise class. It's not something we just put in our closet here, but really put in encryption, so all data coming to our cloud is encrypted and protected, has security, as well as utilizing Tier 3 and Tier 4 data centers. So they have all the security, physical security, video surveillance, multiple security doors and ways to get into the data center, and also providing that 5 nines of uptime. So that way the data is available, at your convenience and when you need it, because you never know when a disaster is going to hit. And it's there. We have people in a network operations center watching that 24/7, 365 days a year to make sure that we know how things are running. If a power grid goes down or a power leg, it switches over, make sure that all runs smoothly. We've done all that work, again, to create a solution so you don't have to. So you can have a DR plan, a strategy, and it's ready to go when you need it. Now, just to touch on the different service levels within our cloud services, we have a cloud basic, which, as it sounds, is pretty fundamental basic, where we provide the storage for your images that you're backing up and protecting, the different recovery points and retention settings. We offer all that and put it up into our cloud. And then on demand, you can request to download that data right back if you need it, or even if it's too big for the pipe that you have, we can put it on a drive and ship that to you overnight and expedite that to you. Cloud Plus is all that I just said, but it adds the ability that you can mount those images and get a file or a folder with a bunch of data in it pretty immediately if that's all you need. You don't need a full image restore. It has that capability added. And then our ultimate disaster recovery is really our Cloud Premium, and that's what most people use as they want that full DRaaS in our cloud, where not only do we store the data, provide that file and folder, but now you can virtualize those machines and have them running in our infrastructure. Gives you the ability to have all of it up there, the whole network running. If everything in your on-prem site were to quit working, maybe it was a flood, a fire, something happened, you needed to run that remotely, you could flip that on, and then it's all protected and running in our cloud. Now, another thing that we've done to make that easy is this one-click orchestration, a virtual machine policy, that when you first get up into our cloud, you can set all your settings, the networking, the different order of boot. Maybe you've got a licensed server or something that just needs to come up before other things do. And you can pre-configure all these dependencies. So that way, when you're in the middle of a mess, of a disaster, and stress is high, there's no time, people are running around, you can just click a button and all of this pre-configured things will just roll out. So with the click of a button, you can be up and get things going in very quickly. Now just a little more detail on how we position these services. Typically it's per machine, pricing per month kind of subscription model, where we give 1 terabyte of capacity per machine, and that capacity is pooled so that you can have many machines, maybe large and small, and pool that capacity together to fit more machines in that space that we give, and it's pooled at the different service levels I mentioned, the basic, the plus, the premium. And another thing that we do is we include 30 days of virtualization where we don't charge anything for that. Because one of the fundamental things of a disaster recovery plan is you have to test it. And we realize that, and rather than nickel and diming you just to test and make sure it's working the way you want it to, we include that by default. You get 30 days every year that you can test or use for a real disaster if needed, and that's part of our offering. And then, as I mentioned before, we expedite a BMR drive, which is a bare metal restore image. We put it on a hard drive and can send that to you overnight if that's faster for you than downloading it over the wire. And that's the fundamental offering we have, but obviously we offer prepay where you can pay a year subscription, if you will, to the service and things like that, so that we can provide that disaster recovery that you may be looking for. Now, another thing I want to talk about is not only that machine protection, but SaaS protection. A lot of people don't realize that SaaS protection is needed. They think, hey, I'm using this service, software as a service, infrastructure as a service in the cloud, it's all taken care of and protected. And the reality is that the different services have different layers of protection, and most are fairly limited. And it doesn't protect you from, the human error factor, where if someone deletes something and they didn't mean to, and 30 days later or so, they need it back and it's gone. The service didn't know that it was an accident. Malicious insiders, hacking, or even just programmatic errors where you've installed a new app, a new software, and it's corrupted things, you don't know it, and then when you go back to get data, it's already gone. And so we've created a product that we call Cloud Backup, and that is SaaS backup and protection and restore. It's primarily today we use it for Office 365 and Google G Suite data. So if you're using those services, which are great, we basically pick up the protection where they leave off. So they provide a minimum level of protection. I'll call it the recycle bin protection plan. And we build off of that, where we can protect that data indefinitely in our cloud. And then whenever you need it, you can restore or recover or export that data as needed. And we back up, Exchange data, so your mail, your contacts, your calendars, your OneDrive, SharePoint data, even your Teams data, we'll back up and protect for you. And you can restore that to same users, different users, all that type of protection we have. And fundamentally it works by protecting, we take 3 backups every day, every 8 hours of the data, and we store it in AWS, an account we have with them. And if you have your own Azure account, you can set it up to back up straight to that account. I know that works well with Microsoft agreements and things for some. And then again, we have that partner portal access where you can log in at any time and get access to that data to recover an email, to restore some files. It's all there for you. And really, I know that was a lot of data really fast, but we really want to provide, as it says here in summary, a solution to those challenges I mentioned before. That explosive data growth, your protection challenges, how do you protect all that data, the security. These these solutions really provide a way to address that and reduce your costs, get more efficient, and be able to solve that without going to many, many different vendors for a solution. Now, again, I've talked a lot. Want to go ahead and stop there and thank you for your time, and also open it if there's any questions, if we have time, to address a few of those.
Yeah, absolutely. Great presentation, Bill. We did get quite a few questions here for you from the audience. While we answer those while we answer those questions, I'm just going to pop up our first poll question on the screen for the audience. I want to call everyone's attention to the question that says, what additional information would you like about the StorageCraft solution? I'll just leave that up while we do our Q&A here. So let's see, Bill. First question they're asking, Seth is asking, where are the StorageCraft cloud data centers located?
Sure, no problem. So we have them around the world. The primary one in the U.S. is based in Bluffdale, Utah, so Salt Lake City, Utah. It's a big data center here, used by many big companies and government facilities. The other one is in Dublin, in Europe. We've got one in Frankfurt. We've got one in Toronto, Canada, and also in Sydney, Australia.
Nice, nice. All right, lots of options there. Another question they're asking is, how would you suggest protecting video surveillance systems, and what about potentially getting poor compression when trying to protect video data?
That's a great question. That's one that probably we don't have time to fully answer, but video surveillance is obviously a big one. You're protecting a lot of data, or creating a lot of data. So again, you can do a lot of that primary storage, on site, but some of that level of that, you can go straight to the cloud with. And again, depending on the needs of this or requirements of your company, the answer is a little different. So maybe I can take that one a little offline and give you some more detail and take you one-on-one, and we can walk through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question here, Edsel's asking, does it integrate with VMware vCenter?
Yes, it does. The ShadowSafe solution and things we talked about, or I mentioned, it does integrate with VMware.
Okay. Sean is asking, can we protect SQL Server instances?
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
They're good.
Another question, how does licensing work? George is asking.
So licensing varies across the different solutions I mentioned. Fundamentally, in the cloud, it's kind of, as I said, per machine. There's also some per gig type basis licensing. But when it comes to the protection, we price per VM or per physical machine, or also per socket. So there's different ways to license them. Just depends on your needs and what fits best for you.
Josh is asking, do you support legal search in your cloud backup product?
So the simple answer is yes, where you can do that, where you can get in and get that data, that, I'm trying to think of the word, recovery. We support that.
Okay, perfect. Wow, lots of so many good questions coming in. What version of Exchange do you support?
That's an interesting question. For ShadowSafe, if you're protecting the machine it's running on, it almost is irrelevant which version. In terms of Exchange, we protect the Office 365, so not necessarily an on-prem Exchange protection. So I'm not quite sure how to answer that one. It sounds like the machine itself, Exchange itself version, may not matter for us because we can protect it either way. Got it.
What level of security can you put in place to protect our data?
Well, we have a number of layers. Like I mentioned, encryption is one, as well as security through our portal and things, and the management of the data. That's all available. Even on our our OneXafe solution, there's compression and some things there in terms of security, like again, encryption to make sure that data is staying secure.
Okay, excellent. And I guess final question we have time for here is, what do you recommend people do to get started with StorageCraft?
Really, it's kind of the old school. Go to storagecraft.com and reach out to us. I know we've got a number of sales contacts and ways there, or my information, if it's available, reach out directly to me and let's have a conversation.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Bill, I've assigned quite a few questions to you there in the queue. Maybe you can get back to those electronically, but it's been really great having you on the event today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It's great to be with everyone today.